Chapter 2162. Who is it? The woman's expression sank as a trace of ruthlessness flashed past her eyes. Dmo Xian took a step forward and strolled to the woman's side. His thin lips moved slightly as he lightly spat out a few words. Nirvana realm is not peaceful if you don't want the other world to be in chaos. I advise you to strengthen the security. Nirvana realm? The woman narrowed her beautiful eyes as a piercingly cold and domineering aura gradually dispersed. Is the Dubhe map really in Nirvana realm? That time, Dmo Xian went to Nirvana realm to look for the Dubhe map. She only treated it as a joke. Unexpectedly, Dmo Xian really found the whereabouts of the Dubhe map in Nirvana realm, that inferior realm. Dmo Xian glanced sideways as he looked at the woman from a high position. His voice was cold. Nirvana realm is the territory that I chose. The woman's heart trembled. She didn't expect Dmo Xian to treat her with such an attitude. Could be seen that Nirvana realm had a very deep obsession with Dmo Xian. She rolled her eyes as an indifferent expression appeared on her gorgeous face. I'm not interested in the inferior realm, but since the Dubhe map is there, I will strengthen the security of Nirvana realm. The woman seemed to have thought of something as her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of demonic light. Speaking of which, since you already know the whereabouts of the Dubhe map, why didn't you bring it back? Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes. What does it have to do with you? I'm just reminding you not to let unnecessary feelings affect your future. The woman chuckled. After all, if you succeed, then I can follow you. To ascend, isn't it? Dmo Xian's half-narrowed peach blossom eyes were piercingly cold. Facing Dmo Xian's deep and cold gaze, the woman's lips curled into a teasing arc. Why? Did I poke into your thoughts again? Her words paused as her curved willow leaf brows raised frivolously. No choice, who asked me? To be the person who understands you the most. Dmo Xian frowned as his peach blossom eyes were as black as ink with a cold glint. Baisu, don't think too highly of yourself. The woman covered her mouth as she laughed out. Kid from the Imperial Palace, I haven't heard you call me by my full name for a long time. The woman stepped forward, her face filled with curiosity. I'm suddenly interested in the Nirvana realm. Since I have to increase the security around the Nirvana realm, why don't I go personally this time? Baisu. Dmo Xian stared coldly at the woman. The strong wind around him stirred up his emotions, blowing his black hair that fell over his shoulders. Her complexion was slightly pale, giving off a cold feeling. His appearance was extremely mature and profound. Fine, I won't tease you anymore. The woman raised her hands in surrender. Her beautiful face was like a blooming rose, extremely beautiful. Dmo Xian turned and left. Hey, kid from the Imperial Palace, the Dubhe diagram is no small matter. As for you, you wanted to hide the whereabouts of the Dubhe map, but you also said that there were others who also sensed the existence of the Dubhe map. If you can't protect the Dubhe diagram well, don't blame us for interfering. The woman called out to him with a serious expression as she looked at Dmo Xian's back. The man stopped in his tracks, his eyes sharp. You're meddling too much, old lady Baisu. The woman's expression stiffened. Immediately she suddenly went berserk. A slap, carrying thousands of wind waves, rushed towards Dmo Xian like a surging tide. I'll kill you, you ungrateful brat. Dmo Xian's figure moved. He had long disappeared in the high mountains. Chapter 2163. Leaving the towering mountain range. The expression on Dmo Xian's face turned extremely indifferent. Between his brows, there were emotions of contemplation. Dark forces. Godless island. These two forces would mysteriously entangle Yiqing Luo. It was probably because of the Dubhe diagram. This map had always been in the care of Yi Fengyu's mother, the madam of the Yi clan. Yi Tianquang should have married Yi Fengyu's mother for the Dubhe diagram. But, if the clue was on Yi Fengyu's mother, Yiqing Luo wasn't a descendant of the Yi family. Not only did she have no blood relations with the Yi family, she also didn't have any blood relations with Madame Yi. If the Dubhe diagram was to be handed over, it should be handed over to Yi Fengyu. He remembered that Godless Island's three evils had once tried to snatch Yiqing Luo's profound phoenix ring. Perhaps it was to search for the Tianshu map on Yiqing Luo's body, whereas the dark forces kept on using profound Yinqi to get close to Yiqing Luo. The dark forces wanted to obtain Yiqing Luo's profound heart jade, and they wanted Yiqing Luo's body, which could nurture the divine phoenix profound heart jade, to be the vessel for the profound heart jade, and to control it in their own hands. Furthermore, he would make use of Yiqing Luo's profound heart jade to search for the whereabouts of the vast water god relic. Yiqing Luo didn't know, but he was very clear. The collective vast water divine artifact would become a key. As for what kind of key it was, no one knew at the moment. However, the only thing that could be confirmed was the vast water divine artifact and the Dubhe diagram were inextricably linked. Looking at Godless Island. Making use of Dao Yigan to disguise as xuanhuan to get close to Yiqing Luo, brainwashing the devil class's students in an attempt to gain Yiqing Luo's trust. Then, after being exposed, directly making use of the treasure house auction house, he set up a god array to send Yiqing Luo to the 21st century. Then he thought of the netherworld he had encountered in the 21st century. Yu Ming took out that crystal ball named Tracking Search Bomb, and followed Yiqing Luo into the Yi family's ancestor's tomb. What it was tracking and searching for was probably the Tianshu map. He could not find it in the Nirvana realm. Godless Island set its sights on their ancestor's tomb in the 21st century. Bit by bit, the clues gradually became clear in his mind. Dmo Xian's eyes were cold and indifferent, turning even more icy cold and incisive. Although Lil Luo didn't like him interfering in her matters. But he had to make a trip to Godless Island. His little Luo heir, no one could be bullied. West Continent, Three Springs Sect Mansion. Yiqing Luo rested in Three Springs Sect for a full 5 days. Until the Heavenly Academy sent someone over to urge her, Yiqing Luo still had no intention to go to the Heavenly Academy. These few days Yiqing Luo shut herself in the Azure Dew bracelet, cultivating non-stop. First, she used the Dragon God's furnace to refine pills for her 2 holy beasts that were still in deep sleep. That stock of returning heaven primordial serene grass, which was worth 70 million gold coins, along with a bunch of precious herbs that could help to raise profound strength, were thrown into the furnace as if they were free. If there were any knowledgeable bystanders present at this time, they would probably be so shocked that their hearts would not be able to take it. Not to mention the returning heaven essence serene grass that was worth 70 million. As for the other precious medicinal herbs and herbs, if it was placed in an auction house, it would definitely be a medicinal herb that everyone would go crazy over. Yiqing Luo totally didn't care about it. After the refining was successful, Yiqing Luo directly fed these pills which used up a large amount of precious medicinal herbs to the 2 holy beasts. This made those Qiao Jin and the rest who followed Elder Yun Yun to urge Yiqing Luo to go to school after Yiqing Luo came out of her closed-door cultivation. Chapter 2164. Was there a need to waste God's gift like this? Qiao Jin and the others expressed how they wished they could be Yiqing Luo's war pet. Yiqing Luo looked at those pairs of eyes which were flickering with a wolf's glint as she rolled her eyes. Forget it, there's a share for my 2 little treasures, so naturally there's a share for all of you too. Qiao Jin's wolf's glint grew as he pounced over directly. Ah! Madam Qing Luo, Goddess Qing Luo. You're our faith. Yan Xiaoyi, who was standing by the side, grabbed onto Qiao Jin as her face was filled with black lines as she face-bombed. Slut Jin, stop embarrassing yourself, come back here. Qiao Jin flailed his arms, with a look as though he wouldn't give up until he got the pill. This pair of clowns made the atmosphere in the room ease up by quite a bit. Yun Duan was all smiles as he stroked his white beard as he looked at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo is indeed Ghost Doctor's only disciple. I'd not expected to be able to refine this kind of high-grade pill successfully. Furthermore, from the sounds of it, the quantity wasn't little. Generally speaking, the higher the grade of the pill, the lower the success rate and the lesser the number of pills refined. Like the heaven-returning primordial serene grass, which was a 1 in 1,000 years precious herb, coupled with so many rare medicinal herbs, even if one's luck was off the charts, to be able to refine 1 pill was already a joyous occasion. Not only did Yiqing Luo succeed, moreover not just 1 pill. That was a pill refined from the heaven-returning primordial serene grass. Based on Yiqing Luo's pill refining ability, she would absolutely be able to advance to the next grade or even breakthrough. Yun Xiang, who was following behind Yun Duan, a glint flashed past his eyes. When Yiqing Luo heard Yun Duan's praise, she humbly raised her pink lips. You can only get what you're willing to give up. These are all extremely precious medicinal herbs, so the success rate is naturally higher. Our student Yiqing Luo has the Overlord's full support, Mu family and the entire Alchemist Guild's full support, and also Treasure Gathering Pavilion Shi siblings. Yun Xiang walked out from behind Yun Duan as he smiled. Of course student Yiqing Luo is willing, indeed you can only get what you're willing to give up. Yun Duan's expression congealed as he suppressed his voice and berated, Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang seemed as though he didn't hear anything as he continued asking with a smile, Student Yiqing Luo, how many heaven-returning serene pills have you refined this time? Just as Yun Xiang finished his words, The faces of Qiao Jin, Yan Xiao Yi and the rest instantly turned ashen. What did he mean by the Di Zun before him and the Mu family after him? Even the Shi siblings were dragged into this? Wasn't this obviously ridiculing their Qing Luo for only knowing how to rely on others? Yan Xiaoyi sneered. She couldn't hold back her temper. Elder Yun Xiang, why do I hear that your words sound so sour? Why, my Qing Luo has refined a high top grade pill and you're envious and jealous. Yun Xiang's smile froze as he glared at Yan Xiaoyi. She was just about to open her mouth to refute when Tong Ziqing, who had a cold expression on her face, slowly walked forward and stood in front of Yan Xiaoyi. Her cold and beautiful aura was completely released. Elder Yun Xiang, you're an elder of the Heavenly Academy and represent the Heavenly Academy. Such baseless words coming out from your mouth, it represents the Heavenly Academy to be doubting our Qing Luo, that we have relied on this and that to get to where we are today, today's status. Tong Ziqing's voice was cold and indifferent as her lips curled into a sneer which didn't reach her eyes. They also knew that it was the Heavenly Academy's intention for them to be surrounded by the crowd as they walked on the road in a mighty manner. It was to make use of her current reputation to help the Heavenly Academy. Yiqing Luo sat on the soft carriage which was supported by a few of the Academy's servants, as she lazily leaned against the cushion. He couldn't be bothered to wave his hand and sell a smile to the people around him. Why did she have such an attitude? In the eyes of his diehard fans he was handsome and cool. Cloud rode a brown horse and followed the carriage at a steady pace. He glanced sideways as he smiled at Yiqing Luo. That's right, student Yiqing Luo, the principal asked me to bring you a message. What? Yiqing Luo raised her brows when she heard that. Cloud Duan stared at Yiqing Luo's expression without blinking. He said, he has agreed to your conditions. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she smiled without any surprise. Many thanks to Elder Cloud Duan for bringing the message. The General Hospital would agree to her request. Chapter 2166. I'm very curious, what is the condition that director mentioned? Yun Duan asked straightforwardly. Yiqing Luo liked this kind of straightforward person as she smiled sweetly. This is a secret between me and the academy. Yun Duan laughed loudly and didn't continue asking. Only occasionally that profound gaze would sweep past Yiqing Luo, as though he wanted to know what Yiqing Luo was thinking about. Or perhaps he wanted to know what secret Yiqing Luo was hiding. Although Yun Duan was an old fox. But how could Yiqing Luo, this little fox, let Yun Duan see through her emotions so easily? The corners of her mouth were still curving upwards. Her eyes were calm without any ripples. But in her heart, she was replaying what she had said to the Academy's director in her mind. The Academy's director had agreed to her request. That meant that the current her and the World Mercenary Group had an inseparable relationship with the Academy. They were on the same boat. The World Group had the Academy's support. Their future development would definitely be impressive. When they reached the Academy, they hadn't had the chance to hold a special welcoming ceremony. Suddenly they saw a lady dressed in a student's attire running over in a fluster. Oh no, oh no! Someone from the upper profound hall is here. Those students who were originally crowding at the Academy's entrance, preparing to welcome Yiqing Luo, instantly quietened down when they heard this sentence. The students opened up a path. That female student rushed to the Academy's entrance. Elder Yun Duan, the director has been looking for you. Yiqing Luo had just stepped down from the carriage as she raised her eyes to look at that female student. Xiaoyu? What happened? That female student was the current vice president of the faculty council, Lu Xiaoyu. On seeing Yiqing Luo, Lu Xiaoyu's pretty face revealed a joyous expression. She took a step forward and rushed in front of Yiqing Luo, hugging her fiercely. Qing Luo. Long time no see. Long time no see. Following that, without waiting for Yiqing Luo's response, she let go of Yiqing Luo and rushed towards Yun Duan's direction. Elder Yun Duan, quickly go to the field. Director alone can't withstand the pressure from the people from the upper profound hall. Yiqing Luo. Good gay friends hadn't seen each other for a long time, shouldn't they give each other a warm hug? Just a hug was enough? Profound hall? Yun Duan's face darkened. Why are there people from there? I don't know. Seems like they are looking for someone. Lu Xiaoyu replied in a panic. The elders have all gone over. The dean asked me to find you and let you go over to negotiate. Yun Duan frowned and looked at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Talk to you later. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly and nodded. Elder Yun Duan, please go ahead. The news of Upper Profound Hall's arrival also dispersed the crowd of students to welcome Yiqing Luo's joyous mood. Everyone was guessing what the upper mystic hall was. Why did the dean and the elders all have such grave expressions? This atmosphere inexplicably became somewhat heavy and oppressive. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to pull Lu Xiaoyu as they walked past the students and slipped into the academy. The group of people slipped into the academy dormitory. There was no one else in the dormitory. Yiqing Luo dragged Lu Xiaoyu to sit beside the wooden chair. What is the upper profound hall? Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. Not long ago, the people from the profound palace suddenly appeared on the field. When the president received the news, he rushed over and kowtowed to that person 3 times and 9 times. He asked me to immediately call the dean and the elders over to welcome him. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Xian Mu had met the people from the upper profound palace? From the looks of it, he must have seen it before, Lu Xiaoyu said. You said the upper profound hall is looking for someone. Do you know who they are looking for? Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. I don't know. I didn't even get a good look at the people from the upper mystical hall before I was chased away by the president to call the principal and the elders. The people from the upper Xian palace suddenly appeared at this moment. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was narcissistic. She had a feeling that the people from the upper Xian palace were probably aiming for her. Thoughts had yet to settle down. Outside the dormitory there was a sudden knock on the door. Yunxiang's voice was heard. Student Yiqing Luo, are you inside? Come out quickly, the envoy from the upper profound palace wants to see you. Whatever she said really came true. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. She expressed that if she couldn't continue on in the future. Chapter 2168. A few pairs of eyes shot towards Yiqing Luo in unison. The person whom Upper Profound Palace was looking for was Yiqing Luo? How did the people from Upper Profound Palace know that Yiqing Luo was returning to the academy today? Why did he feel that it wasn't a good thing for the people from Upper Profound Palace to meet Yiqing Luo? Student Yiqing Luo. If you hear me, open the door immediately. The envoys of the High Shen Palace do not have the habit of waiting for people. Yunxiang knocked on the door with a displeased expression. He could clearly sense the presence of people in the dormitory, but no one inside responded to him. Yunxiang suppressed his anger and growled once again, Student Yiqing Luo, if you don't come out, then don't blame this elder for forcing my way in. There was still no response from inside the house. Yunxiang was so angry that his face turned green, and he immediately rushed to the dormitory door. Creak. The door opened. Yunxiang lost his footing and staggered into the dormitory. His body bumped into a wooden table at the side before he managed to stabilize himself. Outside the dormitory, the students snickered softly. Yunxiang was angry and annoyed. He steadied himself and glared at the few people standing at the door. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a teasing arc, her long and narrow eyes curved into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The glint in her eyes seemed to be ridiculing him. Whereas Lu Xiaoyu tilted her head as she stood by Yiqing Luo's side, blinking her eyes with an innocent look which almost made Yunxiang mad. Qiao Jin, Yen Xiao Yi and Tong Ziqing crossed their arms in front of their chests, looking at him calmly. This group of students. He was clearly doing it on purpose to embarrass him. She was purposely making a fool out of him. Yiqing Luo. Yunxiang angrily rebuked. Elder Yunxiang, where is the envoy from Upper Profound Palace waiting for me? Yiqing Luo's light voice directly interrupted Yunxiang. Yunxiang's words faltered. He clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. Fine. Let Yiqing Luo be complacent for a while. As long as one was targeted by the High Mystic Hall, their ending would not be pretty. Just from the way the Profound Hall's emissary mentioned Yiqing Luo's attitude was enough to tell. For the Upper Profound Hall's envoy to look for Yiqing Luo, it definitely wasn't a good thing. If they could borrow the Profound Palace's hands to get rid of Yiqing Luo, in this heavenly academy, no one would dare to defy their elders. Yiqing Luo could see the murderous intent and evil thoughts flowing in Yunxiang's eyes clearly. She scoffed and curled her lips disapprovingly. Elder Yunxiang, didn't you say that the messenger doesn't have the patience to wait for people? Aren't you going to lead the way? Chapter 2169. When Xiao Jin and the others heard this, the expressions on their faces instantly became grave as well. According to Lu Xiaoyu's speculation, the Upper Xin Hall should have an extremely high standing in this academy. Moreover, it was a symbolic existence. If what Yunxiang said wasn't true, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. That could be considered as Yunxiang slandering Upper Xian Palace. Yunxiang probably didn't have the guts. Therefore, it was highly possible that the news of the envoy from the Upper Shen Palace taking away someone from the academy was true. Yan Shaoyi quickly walked in front of Yi Qingluo. Qingluo, why don't we go over to take a look at what's going on? If there's no danger, then we'll call you over? Yi Qingluo had just returned to the academy and met with such a matter. The upper mystical hall was too mysterious. Although Yi Qingluo was very powerful now. But against those mysterious people who lived in the ancestral hall, it was too strange. Since the envoy from the Upper Shen Palace has specifically asked for me, what if he takes his anger out on you guys if I don't go? Yi Qingluo raised her hand and cupped Yan Shaoyi's face. That messenger is on the field, and with so many students and elders watching, the messenger can't do anything to me. What's more, it might not be a bad thing for the emissary to summon me. Maybe he wants to reward me? Reward? Impossible. Everyone shook their heads simultaneously. Yi Qingluo's smile gradually deepened as her fingers couldn't help but pinch Yan Shaoyi's face. No one knows what exactly is going on, so we'll know when we go over and take a look. Don't think so much. Yan Shaoyi glared at her with her beautiful eyes and grabbed her hands away. I'm not a cat, not a shadow, don't pinch my face. Yi Qingluo withdrew her hand and took a look at Tong Ziqing before her gaze finally fell onto Yan Shaoyi. After staring for a while, Yi Qingluo decisively stretched out her devil's claw towards Yan Shaoyi's face. You and Ziqing are standing together, your face is more suitable to pinch. Her hand has yet to touch Yan Shaoyi. He was intercepted by Qiao Jin halfway. Qiao Jin bore that unprepossessing face as he smiled at Yi Qingluo. Stop pinching my wife, come pinch me, come pinch me. Saying that, he even placed his face in front of Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingluo shot a disdainful glance at his ordinary face. Qiao Jin's skin was very delicate and looked very smooth. However, when his facial features were put together, he looked extremely ordinary. Yi Qingluo retracted her hand and rolled her eyes as she snorted. Are you trying to take revenge on me by showing off your dog food? I won't pinch you. If I pinch your face off, won't you chase after me for 10 streets? Qiao Jin's cheeky smile froze. There was a trace of shock in his deep eyes. Chapter 2170. Shaoyi? What's wrong with your tummy? Did you eat something earlier? Qiao Jin heard Yan Shaoyi crying out in pain and immediately held onto her shoulders anxiously, looking at her tummy worriedly. Yan Shaoyi leaned into Qiao Jin's arms as her forehead broke out in cold sweat from the pain. I don't know, slut Jin, carry me to the latrine, I can't take it anymore. His beloved little woman was in such pain. How could Qiao Jin see anyone else? He immediately carried Yan Shaoyi horizontally and like the wind, he dashed towards the direction of the latrine. If it wasn't for the Academy's rule that they were not allowed to use profound energy, Qiao Jin couldn't wait to inject his profound energy into his legs and dash towards the latrine. Seeing Qiao Jin's figure disappear in a blink of an eye, Yunxiang's expression was extremely ugly. Yi Qingluo's pink lips rose slightly as she looked at Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang, please don't mind it. You also know that young people are like this when they are passionately in love. Her words paused and she seemed to have said something wrong as she covered her mouth and turned her head away. I've forgotten that Elder Yunxiang has never tasted the feeling of passionately in love, so naturally you won't understand the feelings of these young people. Yunxiang's expression turned even uglier. She had successfully caused trouble for Yunxiang. Yi Qingluo happily held onto Tong Ziqing as she walked leisurely into the Academy's training field. Yi Qingluo was stuck in the middle of the training field at one glance as 5 solemn and respectful figures stood there. Standing right in front was an elderly dressed in a bronze-green brocade robe. The elderly's figure was extremely skinny with white sideburns and his face was as skinny as a match, giving off an extremely repulsive feeling. Especially those 2 eyes which were sunken deeply, which made Yi Qingluo inexplicably think of a skeleton in human skin. This elderly wasn't simple. The aura emitted from his body made one shudder. Behind the elderly stood a row of men dressed in dark green robes. Their figures were tall and sturdy and should be that elderly's bodyguards. In a pile of greenish white, suddenly 5 different shades of deep green appeared. Yi Qingluo expressed vicious eyes. The director and a few elders stood by the side with a fawning smile on their faces. I've not expected that after so many years, Sir Envoy has once again descended upon Heavenly Academy, its Heavenly Academy's honor. The old man in the lead snorted coldly without any expression in his eyes. A guard behind him stepped forward, cupped his fists and bowed respectfully to the dean. Dean, please don't stand on ceremony. Just bring our hall master's men over. The guard's actions were respectful, but his expression and tone were clearly threatening. Chapter 2171. Sir Envoy, Student Yiqing Luo is a student of our Heavenly Academy. As an elder of the Academy, we have the right to know why the Profound Palace is looking for Student Yiqing Luo. Yun Duan, who was standing behind the dean, smiled faintly. His smile was gentle and warm. There wasn't any hint of contradiction. But the expression on the face of the Profound Palace's envoy turned gloomy. That pair of bright eyes swept coldly towards Yun Duan. The dean's face turned pale as he glared fiercely at Yun Duan, signaling him to shut up. But Yun Duan's expression didn't change as he smiled gently. Sir Envoy, do you think there's anything wrong with what I said? The envoy gritted his teeth gloomily. Elder Yun Duan is wholeheartedly thinking for the student. There's nothing wrong with what Elder Yun Duan said. These words were said through gritted teeth. The dean's face turned pale as he turned his head and stared at Yun Duan. Yun Duan didn't seem to feel the threat and warning from the envoy. He nodded slightly and continued with a smile. Sir Envoy also feels that what I said is right. Then can I ask the Sir Envoy to tell me why you want to see Student Yiqing Luo? Elder Yun Duan. The respectful guard behind the envoy bellowed angrily. The envoy raised his hand and stopped the guard. Then he slowly raised his head with a sinister look. I don't know the specific reason why the Lord wants to see Student Yiqing Luo. Yun Duan frowned slightly. Just as she was about to say something, the director had already cut in. No matter what the reason is, Hall Master wants to meet Student Yiqing Luo, that is Student Yiqing Luo's honor and also our Heavenly Academy's honor. Student Yiqing Luo should be grateful. The dean's flattering words didn't ease the envoy's expression. The envoy snorted coldly. The Lord had not asked about the Heavenly Academy for a few years, and now a small elder can climb over your head. This has really broadened my knowledge. The dean lowered his head with an ugly expression. A sense of resentment towards Yun Duan arose from the bottom of his heart. The envoy was obviously dissatisfied with Yun Duan. These words were also telling him that if he wanted the Profound Palace to support the Heavenly Academy, this Yun Duan must not stay. The envoy glanced at the dean and snorted, You haven't brought the person? You're such a waste, you even need to invite a student 3 or 4 times. The dean felt extremely ashamed. The surrounding students began to gesticulate and discuss even louder. The principal's face turned red, and his hands were clenched so tightly that veins popped up on his fists. Yunduan's brows furrowed even more. He looked at the gloomy emissaries and guards in front of him, and then at the dean's embarrassed expression. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. The attitude of the Upper Xian Palace. Apparently looking for Yiqing Luo was definitely not a good thing. The envoy didn't waste any more time with the director, but directly looked towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, Hall Master would like to see you, now follow me to the Profound Hall. The Palace Master of the High Mystic Palace. Why would he want to see a student from such a small class like me? If you can't give me a reasonable reason, how can my brother be at ease to let me go to the Upper Profound Hall? Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. Student Yiqing Luo, this envoy is courteous to you because of your character, which suits my taste. But this doesn't mean that you can be rude to this envoy. The envoy's smile paused slightly as his eyes shot out a threatening glint. Yiqing Luo met his eyes and smiled calmly. Envoy, the reason why I'm saying so much to you is because you're the envoy. But this doesn't mean that you can order me around. She sensed a different aura from the envoy. An aura which didn't belong to Nirvana realm. Chapter 2175. Unexpectedly, the Heavenly Academy had such a hidden force. What made Yiqing Luo puzzled was, since the Heavenly Academy already had the power of the Heavenly Palace, why did the Dean choose to work with the Dark Forces and become their dog? Right now, it was impossible for Yiqing Luo to fall into the Upper Profound Palace's trap so easily. An aura that did not belong to the Nirvana realm. She had to be careful. Although the tranquil bead was already in her hands. However, unless there was no other choice. If he could keep a trump card, he would do his best to keep it. This trump card could possibly save his life. Student Yiqing Luo, since you're so uncooperative, then don't blame me for using other methods to invite you over. The envoy didn't fly into a rage as he shot a look behind him. Be gentler with your actions, don't hurt Student Yiqing Luo. The 4 guards immediately stepped forward and walked towards Yiqing Luo. When they got close to Yiqing Luo, the group of students who had gathered around to watch the fun retreated one after another. He was afraid that this matter would implicate him. The guard cupped his fists respectfully. Student Yiqing Luo, please don't take offense. Saying that, his movements were as swift as lightning as he grabbed towards Yiqing Luo. Although the emissary had ordered the guards to take action, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell. The envoy didn't have any intention to harm Yiqing Luo. But looking at the emissary's firm and unyielding attitude, they were a little confused. Did Upper Profound Palace's people have ill intentions for Yiqing Luo, or was it purely to look for her? The strength of the 4 guards was not weak, they were all around the 8th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. The 4 of them struck at the same time and instantly sealed off Yiqing Luo's escape route. And it didn't matter which angle Yiqing Luo hid to. Yiqing Luo would be caught. This point Yiqing Luo naturally noticed it. She narrowed her eyes and gathered her dark force at her feet. Just as he was about to use his footwork to leave the encirclement of the guards, he suddenly stopped. In the next instant, a deafening roar came from afar. "I'd like to see who dares to touch my girl." Accompanied by a loud roar, a thick palm wind directly slapped over. The momentum of the palm was like a rolling wave. In an instant he blocked the attacks of the 4 guards. The guards were forced to take a few steps back. They looked up. Standing in front of Yiqing Luo was an extremely skinny and weak little figure. That man was an old man. His hair was messy and he wore a white robe of an unknown rank. It was not fastened at the waist and it hung loosely on his body. It was as if he had no other support other than his head. It looked like he was like a crazy old man. The principal, the elders, and the surrounding students stared at the old man, unable to conceal their astonishment. Teacher Guiyu. Chapter 2176. One was Guiyu, the other was Ghost Doctor. When the 2 of them appeared, the faces of the dean and the elders became extremely interesting. When the emissary's gaze swept across the 2 of them, a hint of surprise surfaced in his eyes. These 2 people, it gave him a very strange feeling in his heart. He could not put his finger on it. But he was extremely disgusted with these 2 people. However, he knew that he couldn't afford to offend him. Qing Luo, are you all right? Behind Ghost Doctor, 2 figures scuttled out as they speedily ran to Yiqing Luo's side, anxiously pulling Yiqing Luo to size her up from head to toe. Xiaoyi. Yiqing Luo looked at the pretty lady in front of her. Yan Xiaoyi's complexion was normal and her movements were agile. She didn't look like she had just now when she was sweating profusely from her stomach pain. Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor appeared. She couldn't help but laugh. "This girl, you actually pretended to be sick to find Ghost Dr. Shifu and Teacher Guiyu. If I don't pretend to have a stomachache, how can I escape and call for help?" Yan Xiaoyi's face was full of pride. "Aren't you especially grateful for my wit?" Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at her. Yes, especially quick-witted." The appearance of the Ghost Doctor and Old Man Guiyu made the surrounding students exclaim in surprise. The students had seen Old Man Guiyu before. But every time he saw Guiyu, he would either sleep on his stomach or lying down, and he would sleep in all kinds of positions. As for the Ghost Doctor, that extremely mysterious medicine ancestor-level apothecary, this was an existence that was hard to come by in 1,000 years. It was said that the Ghost Doctor hated troublesome people the most. Other than refining medicine, the Ghost Doctor had no other hobbies. But today he had abandoned his pill refining and specially ran over to save the situation for Yiqing Luo. The students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo were filled with curiosity and shock. The envoy of the Upper Shen Hall did not expect this either. A student had actually alarmed Old Man Guiyu, who had never interfered with the Academy's affairs, and the Ghost Doctor, who was so engrossed in refining medicine that he could not extricate himself from it. No wonder Hall Master wanted to meet Yiqing Luo. "Go back and tell your palace master that this girl is under the protection of your father and the Ghost Doctor. You want to take her away? First, ask Laozi and the Ghost Doctor if they're willing." Old Man Guiyu let out a domineering roar with an arrogant attitude. The emissary and the 4 guards took a few steps back and looked at Old Man Guiyu with fear in their eyes. At the side, the dean was also shocked by the sudden turn of events. Seeing that the emissary really had the intention to retreat, the director panicked. "Great Messenger, please don't be angry. Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor have been spoiled by the Academy. That's why they are so rude. Great Messenger, please be magnanimous. Please don't be calculative with us." Then he glared at Old Man Guiyu. "Both of you, all of you shut up. What kind of place is the Upper Profound Hall and what kind of place is this? You are still a member of the Heavenly Academy and you have to listen to me, the Dean." The Dean's low reprimand made Old Man Guiyu laugh. The corners of Old Man Guiyu's mouth twitched, a trace of ridicule and self-deprecation appeared on his usually crazed face. "Headmaster, you're so impressive. Then, what if I don't become the so-called headmaster now?" As soon as he finished speaking, He raised his hand and tore off the medal on his shoulder that symbolized his status as a headmaster. The dean's face instantly turned pale. Old man Guiyu laughed. Sir Headmaster, for so many years, I've really wronged you to put up with this crazy old man. Today this thing I shall return it to you in one piece. Chapter 2177. The strength of the medal was not strong. But the dean's body instinctively took a few steps back. He was dumbfounded and looked at Guiyu in disbelief. You, Guiyu continued to laugh. I'm just satisfying your selfish desires for so many years. Don't you want me to get out of the Heavenly Academy? I'm fulfilling your wish. The dean looked at the medal that landed at his feet. The expression on his face gradually became gloomy. Old man Guiyu's action stunned the onlooking students. Old man Guiyu in the academy, although he was the most unprofessional teacher. And no student dared to provoke him in the entire academy. But Guiyu was a special existence to the students. Among so many solemn teachers, Yi Zichen could not help but laugh. There was a crazy and bad-tempered teacher. And this crazy teacher would never treat them according to the academy's rules. Although they were afraid of him. However, it allowed them to feel a little more relaxed in their intense study. Guiyu actually wanted to leave the Heavenly Academy? The students had yet to react. The next moment, Ghost Doctor looked at the dean indifferently and said in a calm voice, "It seems that the dean also wants to kick me out of the Heavenly Academy. Then, I, Ghost Doctor, will withdraw from the Heavenly Academy from today onwards, and will be stripped of my exclusive pharmacist position." He handed the 2 medicine bottles in his hand to the elder beside him. The elder's hand trembled and did not dare to receive it. Ghost Doctor squinted and said in a low voice, "Ha!" The elder looked at the dean in shock. At this moment the dean was about to explode. It was fine that Guiyu disgraced him in public for a student. After all, that was Guiyu's character. But Ghost Doctor was the exclusive pharmacist whom he had painstakingly invited 3 times. He was the biggest signboard of the Heavenly Academy. He was the symbol of the Heavenly Academy. For so many years, they had cooperated peacefully with each other because Ghost Doctor hated trouble. But now, Ghost Doctor was like Guiyu, withdrawing from the Heavenly Academy for a student? His face was livid, he clenched his fists and said in a tight voice, "Ghost Doctor, for so many years the Academy has provided you with herbs, medicinal ingredients and various advanced equipment for refining medicine. The position of personal apothecary is not something you can get rid of just because you want to." The Ghost Doctor's white brows raised slightly, and the corners of her lips twitched coldly. "Since the dean wants to calculate with me the pill refining equipment that you've provided me for all these years, then I'll also calculate with the dean how many of the pills that I, the Ghost Doctor, have refined over all these years, entered your dean's pocket." The dean's face immediately turned pale. "What nonsense are you spouting? Let's not talk about the pills that went into your pocket. Let's talk about the pills that I threw into the Academy's medicinal storehouse. I'm sure the Academy remembers every single item clearly. We can calculate whether the pills I refined are more valuable, or the medicinal ingredients you provided are more valuable." The Ghost Doctor continued. The dean's face turned completely pale. To be more precise, it was grayish-white. His face was ashen and he couldn't even spit out a retort. Ghost Doctor sneered, "It's the Heavenly Academy's misfortune to have a dean like you." The dean exploded. "Good. Great. You're using this method to humiliate me and force me, aren't you? Good. You're not from the Heavenly Academy now. Men, chase all these outsiders who are causing trouble in the Academy out." The Academy guards looked at each other, at Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, and then at the dean. Chapter 2178. The director was so infuriated that his fingers were trembling. He raised his hand and pointed at the group of guards as he bellowed furiously. "You bunch of trash. Now I can't even order you around anymore, right? Good. Good." He stared fiercely at those elders and those masters who heard the commotion. "Who wants to leave this academy today? Say it out loud and scram. Scram out of the Heavenly Academy." The crowd who were implicated. Was this really the usual dignified and benevolent, although dignified but amiable director? Why was he so harsh today, constantly targeting a student? And even inverted right and wrong, framing Yiqing Luo. Was this really something that the director of the academy could do? Now he even forced Guiyu and Ghost Doctor away. Even the other students and masters were implicated for no reason. The negative impression of the director in the students' hearts was getting deeper and deeper. The director was in a fit of rage, so why would he bother to consider what the students were thinking? No one wants to leave, right? Since no one wants to leave, then All of you chase these people who are not from the Heavenly Academy out. The director waved his arms hysterically. That look made the students extremely disgusted. Guiyu's fiery temper couldn't be controlled as he dashed in front of the director and grabbed his collar. Heavenly Director! Even if I don't want to be a master, but if I want to stay in the academy, I will stay in the academy. The person who has the least right to chase me away is you. The director's collar was tightened and his face flushed red. He grabbed Guiyu's hand, which had green veins popping out, trying to struggle. But how could his strength match up to Guiyu? Guiyu, you! How dare you touch me? A bunch of trash, hurry and stop him. The director's neck was tightly bound as he struggled to say every word. The guards looked at each other. Previously they were the ones who asked them to chase Guiyu and Ghost Doctor out. They naturally didn't dare to. But now their director was being strangled in front of their eyes. No matter what, they had to stop it. The guards cupped their fists towards Guiyu and said in a low voice, "Master Guiyu, sorry to offend you." Saying that, a group of people rushed forward to save the director. They didn't dare to touch Guiyu. Naturally, he was no match for Old Man Guiyu's hot temper. Old Man Guiyu did not intend to let the dean go so easily. He grabbed the dean's neck with his 5 fingers and threw him towards the direction of the guards. The headmaster felt as though his throat was about to be broken when he was suddenly flung around by the neck. The guards scrambled to catch the dean. The dean leaned on them and coughed. He was in an extremely sorry state. The ghost doctor's gaze was calm and she swept an unwavering glance at the director. "There's no need for you to chase us away, we'll naturally leave. Only, if you want to harm my disciple today, don't blame me for disregarding our many years of cooperation." 2 old men dressed in white robes stood in front of Yiqing Luo in a domineering and mighty manner. Their eyes were filled with disdain and mockery as they looked at the principal. The director hadn't even caught his breath when he heard the ghost doctor's warning. He was so angry that he had nowhere to vent his anger. "Trash. A bunch of trash. All of you are siding with the 2 traitors of the Heavenly Academy, aren't you? Good. All of you scram for this dean. All of you get lost." The director was coughing as he roared and pushed the guards behind him. He waved his sleeve and pointed towards the students and masters who were crowding around. Chapter 2179. The students looked at the hysterical and malevolent-looking director, and hearing what he said, the anger in their hearts was ignited. These students were all 15 to 16 years old, and the oldest was 23 to 24 years old. They weren't considered as mature mentally. During this period of time, the crisis in the West Continent had erupted. They had been forced to stay in the Heavenly Academy by the director. On the surface, the director was doing it for their safety. But in actual fact, they were hostages. They couldn't leave the academy. They couldn't contact their own families. They had no idea what the outcome of the battle outside was. It was rumored that some students were worried about their families. They forced their way out of the academy. They secretly tried to escape from the academy. Those were all caught by the director. After that, they couldn't hear any news from those people anymore. The director said that those students wanted to leave and he sent them back to their families. But what was the truth? The students didn't want to guess and didn't dare to guess. However, these things had already planted a seed in the hearts of the students. Today they were dragged into the water by the director again and again for no rhyme or reason, being scolded and reprimanded. These hot-blooded youngsters' pent-up anger had reached its peak and immediately exploded uncontrollably. "Go. Let's go. Heavenly Academy, do you really think that the current Heavenly Academy is still the old Heavenly Academy? If it wasn't for student Yiqing Luo in our academy, the Heavenly Academy would have been demolished long ago. To let someone like you become the director of the Heavenly Academy is to bring shame to the Heavenly Academy. What best academy, first academy, with an ungrateful director like you who thinks of ways to harm your own students? We can't afford to wait on you." The students' rage could no longer be held back. One by one, they tore off their uniforms and threw it on the ground as they were about to leave. The director was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood as his finger trembled as he pointed at the bunch of students who were frantically flinging off their uniforms. He almost fainted from anger. Amidst the chaotic atmosphere, the students were fighting to be the first to leave. A clear voice rang leisurely, "Leave? Why do you want to leave?" A young lady's unique, sweet and crisp voice was extremely recognizable. Upon hearing it, they knew that it was Yiqing Luo's voice. The students' footsteps halted as they turned back towards the direction of the voice. He saw Yiqing Luo's arms crossed as she walked step by step towards the direction of the director. Her steps were slow and graceful. Her red dress fluttered in the wind as she walked, like a blooming rose. A majestic and powerful aura spread out invisibly. In an instant, the entire training square was shaken. The envoy didn't bother about the director as he spoke to Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, the reason why the hall master wants to meet you isn't because he has any ill intentions towards you, but to ask you a few questions. Even hall master doesn't know about this, how would I know? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Student Yiqing Luo, you must know. The messenger insisted. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked towards Ghost Doctor and Old Man Guiyu. Both of them looked at the emissary with vigilance. Seeing Yiqing Luo looking at them, Old Man Guiyu immediately went forward and pulled Yiqing Luo behind him. Go back and tell that whatever hall master, the person I'm protecting, is not someone he can meet whenever he wants. If there's any problem, come out and look for last Luo yourself. His words paused as he added another sentence. And it must be under the condition that I'm present. This protective look made Yiqing Luo's heart warm up. Chapter 2181. Last Luo. You don't know what kind of place the upper profound hall is. That is not a place for you to fool around. Old Man Guiyu understood the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words as he immediately suppressed his voice to persuade her. Yiqing Luo smiled. No matter, I'll be fine. Since when have you seen me doing something that I'm not confident of? She cherished her life very much. She wouldn't feel that she was in the sky profound stage and she could be that awesome. From the messenger's aura, Yiqing Luo indeed didn't feel any murderous intent. Moreover, when those 4 upper profound hall's guards came to capture her, she had noticed the messenger's expression. When the guards were attacking her, the emissary's eyes had always been fixed on her. The expression on his face was indeed worried if she was injured. The messenger was serious when he instructed the guards not to hurt her. So she could conclude that hall master wasn't here to find trouble. Since that hall master wanted to ask her questions, she would go and meet that hall master to see what kind of place the upper profound hall was. Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor exchanged glances and immediately relaxed their arrogance. All right, go. If you're not back in 1 hour, we will inform the Imperial Palace and barge into the upper profound hall. Wasn't it a little too exaggerated? Yiqing Luo looked at the both of them as she warned the messenger. The messenger was originally high and mighty but was forced to bow down to the 2 old men. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards uncontrollably. Warmth spread in her heart. It was her fortune to have these 2 elders who cared about her and thought for her. She would never let Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor leave the Heavenly Academy. After the discussion, the 2 of them finally let Yiqing Luo leave with the messenger. Yiqing Luo looked at the disheveled and injured director as her long and narrow eyes rose slightly. Before she opened her mouth, the messenger beside her had already said, Dean's action today is against the teacher's ethics. I represent the upper profound hall to inform Dean to stop whatever you are doing and go to the ancestral hall to reflect for 3 days. Director suddenly raised his head. Miss Messenger, this can't be. There are many things in the academy, and if I'm not around the academy, there are many things to do in the academy. There are naturally these 2 seniors and many elders to help. The emissary left no room for discussion. 3 days from now, if the temple master thinks you can leave the ancestral hall, then we'll talk about it. The dean's face was ashen. He had even brought out the hall master. If he didn't obey, the palace master had every right to kill him. 3 days, in less than 3 days. He had been the dean for so many years. Even if he had to face the wall for 3 days, the academy would not be able to overturn the heavens. The emissary shot a glance behind him. The 2 guards from the upper mystic hall understood and stood on the left and right side of the dean. Dean, please. At the entrance of the xuanhuan ancestral hall, Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor saw them off. When they reached the door, they stopped. If one entered the ancestral hall without permission, he would be punished by the ancestors of the Heavenly Academy. In fact, it was the backlash of the upper profound hall's spirit formation. Following the envoy, Zhang Xian entered the ancestral hall. The headmaster was assigned to the furthest corner of the ancestral hall. He knelt in front of the memorial tablets and copied the Book of Teacher's Virtues. When he saw Yiqing Luo following the envoy into the inner hall, his eyes were filled with hatred. Yiqing Luo totally disregarded him. 3 days. Imprisoned for 3 days. Did he think that 3 days later, there would still be a place that belonged to him? Would she give him this chance? Chapter 2182. The messenger had been paying attention to Yiqing Luo's expression right from the start. He was very interested in this girl who seemed to have everything under control, as if everything was under her control. He wanted to know what this young lady was thinking about. Her calmness. Was it because she was in control of everything? Or was it because she was simple-minded and didn't think about anything so she wasn't afraid? Of course, from Yiqingluo's temperament, the messenger chose to believe the former. But so far he hadn't seen any special shining spot on Yiqingluo. Until now. He saw a different expression on Yiqingluo's face. What kind of smile was that? Crafty like a fox and extremely charming. He clearly knew that she must be plotting something in her heart. But he was unable to develop any sense of disgust. On the contrary, he felt that this young lady's craftiness was extremely terrifying. This was an extremely terrifying charisma. Messenger keeps staring at me. Is there something on my face? The young lady's smiling voice was heard by the side of his ear. The messenger suddenly regained his senses. In front of him was a radiant smiling face. Her face was devastatingly beautiful and peerless. The messenger's brows twitched as he hurriedly retracted his gaze. I've long heard that student Yiqingluo is devastatingly beautiful, so it's indeed so. Yiqingluo smiled. Even the messenger likes this look of mine, so I'm sure the Hall Lord will like it too. The messenger was stunned as he concealed the expression between his brows. He didn't say another word as he re-evaluated Yiqingluo. This young lady was indeed not an ordinary person. No wonder she was able to attract the attention of the Hall Lord, to personally summon her. The messenger maintained his silence. Yiqingluo didn't intentionally pursue further. She looked as though she was obediently following beside the messenger, but in actual fact, she had already drawn the route which she had taken into her mind as a map. After stepping into the inner hall, it was another long and dark corridor. Yiqingluo had not expected that the ancestral hall, which seemed to be the smallest courtyard in Heavenly Academy, was actually so spacious. It was divided into several inner courtyards. After turning the long corridor, Yiqingluo followed the messenger into a house at the end. Inside the house, it was dark and gloomy. And there wasn't anything placed, it was extremely spacious. Yiqingluo surveyed the surroundings and looked at the messenger in puzzlement. Not waiting for her to ask, the messenger had already walked to the front as his fingertips slashed across his wrist. A drop of blood dripped down. He quickly formed a hand seal. Following that, he turned his head towards Yiqingluo. Student Yiqingluo, please hold on tight to me. When Yiqingluo heard that, she immediately understood. This place is the reverse barrier, right? As she asked, she grabbed the sleeve of the messenger's robe. He followed the envoy into the room. Yiqingluo could clearly feel her body brushing against something cold. This feeling was exactly the same as when he had passed through the reverse spirit formation last time. You know about the reverse enchantment? After passing through the enchantment, the envoy looked at Yiqingluo in astonishment. There shouldn't be anyone in the Nirvana realm who knows about traditional barriers and reverse barriers. Yiqingluo nodded her head. Last time, when she pretended to be controlled and followed Pharaoh He to the base camp of the Dark Forces, she had experienced the reverse ward. Old Man Tsang had taught her before. The reverse spirit formation was actually a spirit formation similar to an illusion technique. Without the secret technique of combining with the reverse barrier, this room was just an ordinary black room. He used a secret technique to enter the room. It was the true hidden place after arriving at this room. Chapter 2183. Upper Profound Hall. Yiqingluo sized up the surrounding environment. This upper profound hall was different from what she had imagined. Hidden in the ancestral hall was a powerhouse. Yiqingluo thought that this was a powerhouse who hid in the dark and didn't dare to be seen. The upper profound hall would also be pitch black, eerie, and extremely terrifying. But this magnificent scene in front of her was brightly lit and extremely flourishing. Yiqingluo totally couldn't imagine it. This was a scene which could be seen in an ancestral hall which was specially used to display memorial tablets. Student Yiqingluo, this way please. The messenger saw Yiqingluo looking left and right with her eyes filled with astonishment as his lips twitched. No matter how intelligent this young lady was. After all, she was only a 15-year-old child. Seeing such a splendid and magnificent hall, it was inevitable that she would reveal this kind of expression. Yiqingluo's attention was on the surrounding scenery and didn't notice the messenger's thoughts. Of course, even if she noticed, she was too lazy to explain. If the upper profound hall's people treated her as an ordinary 15-year-old young lady to bluff, this was also quite good. She could even pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. She followed the messenger all the way. Along the way, this hall was all splendid and magnificent with a grand style. Yiqingluo inexplicably thought of God Thief. If God Thief was around, he would definitely think of ways and means to move all the things here away. Thinking of God Thief's eyes shining, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed out loud. What are you laughing at? The messenger saw Yiqing Luo laughing out of nowhere as he looked at her and asked. Yiqing Luo raised her head and met the messenger's gaze. Her eyeballs rolled as she changed the topic. Messenger, I'm thinking. Is it possible that every academy's ancestral hall is hiding a powerhouse like yours? What kind of powerhouse is Upper Profound Hall? The messenger looked at her in amusement. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she replied seriously, I feel that this should be like a controlling, restricting existence. The messenger became interested. Oh? Why do you say so? Yiqing Luo's slender brows arched. This is like Nirvana realm has 4 continents, and each continent not only has its own dynasty, it also has its own sect. It's like all the existences are mutually balancing and restraining each other. Pausing for a moment, Yiqing Luo continued, let's take the simplest example. In our 4 major sects, each sect has a sect elder. This sect elder is equivalent to the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Hall, and is the existence that restrains and checks the Heavenly Academy. Aha! Student Yiqing Luo is indeed extraordinary. The envoy couldn't help but laughed out loud. This was the first time he had heard of such a saying. But it was undeniable that Yiqing Luo's guess was correct. Every academy did indeed have its own halls. The existence of the hall masters. It was the same as being an elder of a sect. It was all for the sake of restraining the dean and the elders. This was to prevent people with ulterior motives from using the academy to harm the balance of the Nirvana realm. The emissary did not deny it. Yiqing Luo knew that what she said was right. She chuckled softly. Her eyes no longer had the amazement when she first saw the magnificent palace. On the contrary, they were extremely calm and indifferent. Nirvana realm is merely the lowest grade realm, but it has troubled so many people from the upper realm to guard this place for decades, or even centuries. She met the messenger's eyes and suddenly laughed. You people from the upper realm really put in a lot of effort for Nirvana realm. The expression on the messenger's face changed slightly. Chapter 2184. Yiqing Luo didn't continue the topic. She took the lead and walked towards the front. The envoy's expression congealed slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo's leisurely back view for some time before he took a step forward and followed up. This time round, the envoy's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with probing intent. There were several times when he wanted to ask Yiqing Luo how much she knew about the upper realm and Nirvana realm. But before he opened his mouth, Yiqing Luo would always point to something by the side and ask him. Not long later, they had walked for about 2 joss sticks worth of time on the journey. The envoy stopped outside the inner hall as he stretched out his hand to stop Yiqing Luo. He saw the envoy rushing into the inner hall as he bowed slightly. Hall master, student Yiqing Luo is here. A deep and melodious voice rang in the hall. Come in. That voice didn't sound old. It was a man's voice. The envoy took a step back as he stretched out his hand towards Yiqing Luo and spoke in a low voice. Student Yiqing Luo, please. Looking at the tightly shut inner hall door, Yiqing Luo pointed to herself. Am I going in alone? This is the hall master's bedroom, and he doesn't allow anyone to go near his bedroom, so this envoy can only send you here. Bedroom, bedroom, bedroom? Was he sure he wasn't teasing her? What did this hall master mean? Meeting a 15-year-old young lady in his own bedroom? Didn't he say that no one was allowed to go near his bedroom? Then why did he still let her in? Seeing Yiqing Luo still in a daze, the envoy urged her in a low voice. Student Yiqing Luo, hall master is waiting for you inside, why aren't you going in? Yiqing Luo took a look at the bedroom door and looked at the envoy. That? You don't have any guest hall, a hall in the meeting hall? The envoy heard Yiqing Luo's implied meaning. His bright little eyes squinted into a slit as his shriveled lips cracked into a smile. Student Yiqing Luo, please be assured, no matter how useless hall master is, he would not be so desperate as to lay his hands on a young lady. Moreover, he slowly bent down and leaned towards Yiqing Luo as he lowered his voice. Our hall master hates women. Yiqing Luo expressed that she had never met their hall master before, so who knew if his words were true or false. The emissary didn't want to waste any more time with her. He bowed deeply in the direction of the sleeping chamber before retreating. Hey, why did you leave just like that? If you leave so decisively, I will be even more suspicious that your hall master is coveting my beauty, and you are working together to trick me. Yiqing Luo immediately shouted behind him. But after leaving the emissary, she didn't know how to use the reverse barrier fusion secret technique. Before he could catch up, The envoy's figure had already disappeared in front of Yi Qingluo's eyes. Chapter 2185. Yi Qingluo didn't hesitate anymore as she pushed open the bedroom door and walked in. The moment the bedroom door opened, Yi Qingluo felt a gush of extremely intense profound energy, like water ripples, following the outline of her figure, spreading outwards. She could clearly feel the flow of the airflow. She was slightly stunned as she squinted her eyes. She only had time to catch a trace of profound qi lingering in the air. Very quickly, it disappeared into thin air. Last Luo. In her mind, Old Man Song's anxious voice suddenly rang. Yi Qingluo was stunned as she subconsciously responded, "Old Man Song, why did you come out? I couldn't sense you earlier until now. I finally got in touch with you. You are now." Old Man Song said anxiously. Suddenly his voice paused as he sensed Yi Qingluo's current location. "You? Where are you?" Yi Qingluo subconsciously narrated what had happened earlier in a concise and comprehensive manner. Unexpectedly, after entering the profound ancestral hall, her connection with Old Man Song was cut off. That meant to say, after entering the profound hall would suppress her mental power. This was like her in the 21st century, where her mental power was deliberately suppressed, unable to summon sacred beasts and unable to sense Old Man Song. It was the same logic. Why after entering the bedroom, the suppression of the profound hall on her mental power disappeared? Earlier when she pushed the door open, she felt the fluctuation of profound qi. It seemed to be the feeling of the enchantment. "Come in, Miss Yi." The man's voice seemed to be close to her ear. Yi Qingluo followed the voice and passed through the screen. The surroundings were decorated with 2 luminous pearls, extremely bright. It also lit up the sleeping quarters clearly. The style of the sleeping chamber was completely different from the golden splendor outside. In this bedroom, there was only a bed that was big enough for 3 people to roll around on, a wooden desk and a bookshelf filled with thousands of books, a 4-cornered mahogany tea table and 2 mahogany chairs. Other than that, there was nothing else. Simple, it couldn't be any simpler. A slender and handsome figure sat by the tea table, one hand holding the teapot, elegantly pouring tea. Yi Qingluo walked closer. The man in front of the table became even clearer. The man was wearing a loose bamboo-colored robe. He didn't have a belt around his waist, so it hung loosely on his body. It made his tall and slender figure look even more incomparably thin. The man's long black hair was untied. His face was like a crown of jade and he was extremely handsome. His eyes were like cold stars, flickering with a complicated light that no one could understand. He looked like a banished immortal, carefree, unrestrained, and extremely lazy. If one were to say that he was handsome. After seeing Dmo Xian Zhu Wu Xin, as well as Devil Class's pile of handsome boys. To be honest, the palace master's appearance was not particularly handsome. However, he had a unique temperament that no one could imitate. The palace master's bamboo robe fluttered as his slender fingers landed on the seat opposite him. "Miss Yi, please take a seat." Yi Qingluo walked over and sat opposite him. The hall master pushed a cup of tea over. "Have some tea." Yi Qingluo didn't say a word as her gaze sized up the hall master. She picked up the teacup, deep in thought. She was an alchemist herself, so she wasn't worried that the hall master would tamper with the tea. Moreover, the hall master had no need to do so. Chapter 2186. Third person? Yi Qingluo's hand paused. She squinted her eyes and released her senses. Other than this man who looked like an immortal, she didn't sense any other presence. She couldn't sense any presence, so there were only 2 results. 1. There was only her and hall master in this room. 2. The third person's ability surpassed her by more than 1 profound grade. Yi Qingluo could totally eliminate the first possibility. Old Man Song wouldn't lie to her, nor would he joke about such things. Then, there was only the second possibility. The third person's ability was definitely higher than her by 1 profound grade. That's right, profound grade. She was now an Earth profound grade cultivator. That third person's profound grade was the lowest, which was above Earth profound. Which was a legend. Legend had it that he would turn into 15 grades. Virtuous profound grade cultivator. Such a powerful person. Why would he hide in a corner of this bedroom? Did Hall Master know about it or not? What's the matter? Hall Master raised his eyes as his gaze deepened. Yi Qingluo put down the teacup. "I'm here not to ask for a cup of tea. What's the matter that Hall Master is looking for me for? Please tell me clearly." She didn't intentionally mention the third person in the room, but pretended not to notice anything as she spoke calmly. Envoy forgot to tell you earlier, Heavenly Academy's Guiyu and Ghost Doctor have already said that if I don't return safely from the Ancestral Hall within a short period of time, they will immediately bring their men in charge into the Ancestral Hall. Her pink lips rose into a radiant smile. I believe Hall Master doesn't wish for the enchantment which you have meticulously set up to be broken. And the peace which Hall Master has been wanting for a long time, and the days of not bothering about worldly affairs, will also come to an end. Every single word she said was extremely incisive. It sounded as though she was thinking for Heavenly Profound Palace, for Hall Master. But obviously she was threatening Hall Master. Upon hearing this, a calm smile appeared on the Hall leader's handsome face. His cold eyes were fixated on Yi Qingluo's radiant smile. After looking at each other for some time, he opened his mouth. You're observant indeed. There's no need to observe at all. As long as you use your brain a little, you'll be able to think of it. Yi Qingluo smiled. Hall Lord is the balance force of the Heavenly Academy, but what the director had done for so many years, Hall Lord should be clear about it. The palace master raised his teacup and took a sip. Then he smiled faintly and said, Are you complaining to me? No. Yi Qingluo wasn't that senseless to complain about the director. Hall Master is looking for me. It shouldn't be because of the director's matter, right? Chapter 2187. Upper Profound Palace Lord's laughter slowly came to a stop. His apathetic gaze, this time, was seriously scrutinizing the young lady in front of him. It was simply unimaginable. Such a young lady. She was actually able to deal with him so calmly under his intentionally flamboyant aura. This young lady wasn't afraid of him. Not afraid of his identity. Even though she knew that his ability was way above hers. What gave her the confidence to be so sure that he wouldn't hurt her? If Yi Qingluo knew what the Palace Lord was thinking about, she would definitely roll her eyes at the Palace Lord. Whatever imposing aura, it wouldn't scare her at all. One must know that under Dmo Xian's powerful aura, she directly held him hostage and laid her hands on him. What else was there for her to be afraid of? After a moment of silence, the Palace Lord finally gave up and put down the teacup in his hand. Miss Yi, you're really an unfathomable young lady. Yi Qingluo smiled sweetly. Palace Lord, don't fall in love with me. Don't forget that you said that you're not after my beauty. Ahaha. The Palace Lord laughed out once again. He looked at Yi Qingluo's eyes and said word by word, Miss Yi, do you want to know your background? Background? Yi Qingluo's smile froze. What do you mean? Regarding your background, this Palace Lord happens to know a little. The Palace Lord propped his chin leisurely as he looked at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. After this Palace Lord found out about your background, I really wanted to tell you about this, so I specially summoned you to Upper Profound Palace. Yi Qingluo's slender brows creased slightly. She stared at the Palace Lord's face, trying to see if what he said was true or false. But she totally couldn't tell what the Palace Lord's expression meant. Her background? The Palace Lord knew about her background? What on earth did he know that made him specially appear in Heavenly Academy, requesting to meet her in public? The Palace Lord squinted his cold eyes as he looked deeply at her and said word by word, In your body, there is a divine phoenix profound heart jade, am I right? His words made Yi Qingluo's heart thumped. On the surface, she pretended to be puzzled as she fluttered her long eyelashes. Divine phoenix profound heart jade? What is that? I won't tell you what it is. The Palace Master chuckled. In short, according to this profound heart jade, you can find your birth parents. He paused for a moment, then suddenly propped himself up and pressed his fingers against his chin, closing the distance between them. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you, if you want to find your biological parents, you have to go to the upper realm. Yi Qingluo frowned. What are you trying to say? I'm just reminding you that as a human from the lower realm, if you want to go to the upper realm, your strength must be promoted to the peak of the third level of the Sage Profound Realm and above. Only then can the Historian of Heaven's Path verify the stability of your profound rank. Then the Historian of Heaven's Path can bring you to the upper realm. The Palace Master smiled again. However, with your current aptitude, if you're lucky, 5 or 10 years would be possible for you to reach the Sage Profound Realm. If you're unlucky, it might be 50 or 100 years. So, what's the second way? Yi Qingluo didn't beat around the bush with him. Since the Palace Master had already made it so clear, there was no need for her to hide her intention of going to the upper realm. But she absolutely could not let anyone know about the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. The second way. Chapter 2188. Yiqing Luo's back stiffened. The third person in the room, the one whom she couldn't detect, was right behind her? She suppressed the urge to turn her head and examine, not revealing her inner panic on her face. The only thing she could confirm was that the hall master and the third person definitely knew each other. But why didn't the third person show himself? Why must he hide in the room? Whether he was a friend or foe, she wasn't sure. She could only pretend to be calm, trying her best not to alert the enemy. Miss Yi need not be nervous. The second method which I mentioned may be difficult for ordinary people, but if it's Miss Yi, it should be. As compared to the first method, it should be easier. Hall master smiled slightly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed slightly. This hall master of Upper Profound Palace's observational ability was indeed incredible. She was extremely confident in the subject of camouflage. But hall master could still see some clues. He could tell that she was nervous at that moment. The powerhouses outside of Nirvana realm were so powerful that it made her excited. It also made her have the thought of rushing to the upper realm. Even if there wasn't any background, it pointed to the upper realm. She would definitely head to the upper realm. Because the power in Nirvana realm, even if she stood on the peak, she would not be satisfied. What she wanted was to become even stronger. The road to the strong was endless. Only to limit herself to Nirvana realm. That would be too unambitious. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, as she completely calmed down her emotions in her heart. Her lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Hall master has been keeping me in suspense. After all, this is a secret which basically no one in the entire Nirvana realm knows about. Hall master propped his chin as he sized Yiqing Luo up. So what does Hall master want? He had been keeping her in suspense because he wanted to get the corresponding exchange item from her. Which was the real reason why Hall master specially summoned her to Upper Profound Palace. Hall master looked at Yiqing Luo as he said word by word, "What I want is very simple. After saying this, you will sit in this bedroom alone." 1 hour later. Alone? Sit for 1 hour? Was there something wrong with this hall master's brain? What kind of request was this? Or does the palace master have some other scheme? Or perhaps, the palace master was giving the third person in the room a chance to make a move on her? You don't have to worry, this palace master will not seek trouble. Although the ghost doctor and Guiyu are not as powerful as this palace master, but if we really fight, this palace master will not be able to gain any advantage. Hall master seemed to have seen through Yiqing Luo's guess as he added another sentence. As for the motive, you don't need to ask any further. Even if she asked, he might not answer. An hour? Counting it, there was still an hour before the agreed time with Ghost Doctor and Old Man Guiyu. Wasn't it just sitting here by himself? It was a good opportunity for her to see what the palace master's motive was. She nodded. All right. The hall master revealed a smile, as though he had long guessed that Yiqing Luo would agree. He did not beat around the bush and said bluntly, "There is another way, and that is to collect the 4 sacred beast pearls. Once you have collected all the sacred beast pearls, you will be able to open the portal to the upper realm." Sacred beast pearl? Yiqing Luo recalled the 2 growing sacred beasts in her pet space. This sacred beast pearl? How do I get it? Could it be? This sacred beast pearl was hidden in the 4 great sacred beasts' bodies? She had to kill the sacred beasts before she could obtain the sacred beast pearl. Chapter 2189. Hall master who saw through Yiqing Luo's imagination. This young lady's imagination was simply too wild. When did he say that he wanted to kill the sacred beast to obtain the sacred beast bead? Hall master's lips twitched slightly as he patiently tried his best to finish his words. As for where the sacred beast bead is and how to obtain it, there's someone who can answer you. Oh. Yiqing Luo frowned. Hall master remained silent for a moment and suddenly asked another topic. Miss Yi, devil class which you are in seems to be the champion of this year's interclass competition, right? Yes. Hall master smiled. In the interclass competition, the class who obtains the champion will have the chance to enter the class of gods to undergo their special training. What has this got to do with the sacred beast bead? Yiqing Luo expressed that Hall master's train of thought floated too fast and she couldn't keep up. Hall master mysteriously leaned back on the soft chair. Of course it has something to do with it. Whatever you want to know, there's a student in the class of gods who knows it best. Furthermore, she also knows the precise location of the sacred beast bead. Who is it? Yiqing Luo somehow felt that she was being led by the nose. Go there and you'll naturally know. After Hall master finished his words, he suddenly stood up. A loose, bamboo-colored robe rolled down like a waterfall from 1,000 miles away. Alright, the second method this hall master has already told you, then. Now please abide by the request that you've promised me and sit here alone. This hall master still has some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Yiqing Luo? What was he trying to do? She heaved a heavy sigh as she raised her head and looked at him seriously. Hall master, aren't you afraid that I'll tear down your bedroom? You won't have that chance and you won't have that time. Hall master calmly threw down this sentence and really walked out of the bedroom without any intention of turning back. No chance? No time? Where did his confidence come from? If she really wanted to tear down this bedroom, could he stop her? But hall master's words obviously didn't mean this. The chance and time that he mentioned must have another meaning. In her mind, a thought formed. In the bedroom there was a deathly silence. Yiqing Luo restrained the deep look in her eyes as she stared at the untouched teacup on the table. Her consciousness was calling out to Old Man Song. Old Man Song, is there anyone else in the bedroom other than me? Old Man Song quickly replied, yes, the third person is still in the room. As expected, a cold glint flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. Her pink lips curled up slightly as she placed one hand on the mahogany table, her index finger lightly clasped together. The rhythmic sound was like one thunderclap after another, striking down. This strange atmosphere continued for a while. The girl's unique and sweet voice echoed in the sleeping chamber. Sir, I don't have much time left. If you insist on hiding in the dark and remain silent, then please let me leave. Her voice reverberated faintly in the empty space. Ethereal, clear and pleasant to the ear. There was still silence in the bedroom. Yiqing Luo's fingers paused. Then, she stood up without hesitation and walked towards the entrance of the sleeping chambers. Whoosh! A gust of air current struck and blocked in front of Yiqing Luo. The air current landed on the ground beside Yiqing Luo's feet and instantly the ground cracked. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes to look at the broken hole as her lips twitched in ridicule. Can't hold it in anymore? In the bedroom the air was fluctuating. Yiqing Luo's naked eye could clearly see the profound chi ripples in the air. Like waves of turbulent waves. Chapter 2190. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes but her legs didn't move. Yiqing Luo, how did you know? I'm here. The youth's cold voice had a hint of evil in it. This familiar voice made Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffen slightly. She frowned and quickly turned around. Behind him stood a young man in a crimson robe. His extraordinarily handsome face was the kind of unique charm that could attract all eyes the moment he appeared. But when the line of sight fell on his body, his entire body was emitting an ice-cold aura, causing others to not dare to approach him, to not dare to profane him. His ink-like hair was tied loosely with a silk ribbon of the same color as the one he was wearing. Occasionally, a few strands of hair would fall in front of his forehead, but it didn't diminish his elegance in the slightest. Instead, it softened the cold lines on his face. Looking at it, it was no longer so cold that it made people feel like they were digging into their bones. When Yiqing Luo saw the young man's face clearly, the expression on her face turned slightly chilly. Noticing the change in Yiqing Luo's expression, the young man's brows creased tightly. He could tell that Yiqing Luo didn't want to see him. The young man's aura also froze. A cold glint flashed in his pitch-black eagle eyes, as if he wanted to freeze her completely. He stared at Yiqing Luo and suddenly lifted his leg, walking towards her. The crimson robe rolled along with his footsteps. Like raging flames. It looked like a moving block of ice walking on fire. This was obviously out of place, but on him, there wasn't any sense of incongruity at all, making Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. She pursed her lips and said unhappily, Zhu Wuxin, why are you here? Wasn't this person in front of him Zhu Wuxian? Why was he here? He was the third person in the bedroom? What was his relationship with the hall master? It was me. I asked Archer to borrow the identity of the upper profound hall to summon you here. Zhu Wuxian didn't deny it as his serene cold eyes looked at Yiqing Luo calmly. Archer? That was the name of the hall master, right? Calling him so intimately, he and the palace master were indeed good friends. What exactly do you want to do? Yiqing Luo didn't like the feeling of being schemed against. She had already made it clear to Zhu Wuxin previously at the Three Springs sect. Why was Zhu Wuxin still pestering him? To actually use such a method, Zhu Wuxian closed in step by step as he walked right in front of Yiqing Luo, as the tip of his shoe touched the tip of her shoe. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as she lowered her eyes to look at his foot, which was pressing against the tip of her shoe. Zhu Wuxian, don't you feel that you're very childish? She did not retreat in fright as Zhu Wuxin had expected. Instead she was expressionless. No, to be more accurate, she was looking up at him with a hint of annoyance. The distance between them was so close that they could still feel each other's breath. The two red robes also overlapped with each other, appearing to be a perfect fit. All Zhu Wuxin had to do was take a step forward. His kiss could fall on her face. Their eyes met, both calm. I don't think so. Zhu Wuxin's cold voice was emotionless. Yiqing Luo sneered, then do you think there's any meaning in your pestering behavior? Yes, he answered calmly. Yiqing Luo, what's the point? Interesting person, he seemed to be the only one. Zhu Wuxian's deep gaze was fixed on her as his voice was chilly. I've said this before, unless you die, otherwise I will not let you off. He enunciated each and every word clearly. Chapter 2191. Yiqing Luo only had one thought in her mind right now. Damn it, this Zhu Wuxian was really sick. And it was the kind that was seriously sick. Zhu Wuxian indifferently bent over as his scorching hot breath splashed onto Yiqing Luo's face with a swoosh. It was different from Dmo Xian's elegant sandalwood fragrance. Zhu Wuxian's body had an extremely light plum fragrance. The smell wasn't unpleasant. But Yiqing Luo, who wasn't used to other men getting so close to her, couldn't help but frown. She raised her hand and flipped her palm, holding the glower flame fan's handle as she pressed it against Zhu Wuxian's chest. Step back. Zhu Wuxian's brows drooped as he squinted at that exquisite fan handle on his chest. Following that, he continued to press down on her expressionlessly. An unfamiliar man's presence instantly enveloped her entire body. Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed. You think I don't dare to make a move on you? Yiqing Luo, you won't. Zhu Wuxian's cold tone was extremely certain as he spoke. His deep eyes stared at Yiqing Luo's furious face without blinking. I know you won't. Yiqing Luo's belly full of anger, not knowing why when she met Zhu Wuxian's eyes, it inexplicably dissipated. She lowered her head as her slender fingers clenched slightly. Her curly long lashes, under her charming eyes, projected an arc-shaped shadow. Why was his gaze so firm? As though he understood her very well. But Yiqing Luo had to admit. What he said was right. She wouldn't really make a move on Zhu Wuxian. No matter if it was on account of the original owner Xiaoqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian's relationship. And it was on account of the few times he had risked his life to save her. She owed Zhu Wuxian too many favors. If she really made a move on Zhu Wuxian, she wouldn't be a human. Yiqing Luo clenched her fists tightly as she took a deep breath and took the lead to retreat a few steps, widening the distance between her and Zhu Wuxian. What on earth do you want? To make you fall in love with me again. Zhu Wuxian replied calmly. Yiqing Luo was dumbstruck. After some time she regained her senses and met Zhu Wuxian's extremely resolute gaze as she spoke seriously. I've never loved you before, not to mention again. Yes. Zhu Wuxian stared at her, as stubborn as a child. Yiqing Luo, no matter how you deny it, the matter of you and I pledging to be married privately is a fact. In his mind, the scene of Xiaoqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian, privately pledging to be together, appeared. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. At that time, Qing Luo was only 10 years old. What private pledge of marriage? It didn't count at all. Was Zhu Wuxin abducting an underage child? In her time, he would be sentenced. Outside, you will always be accompanied by the dark guards arranged by that guy. My words will be relayed to that guy through the dark guards' mouths. I want to be alone with you, just the two of us. We won't be disturbed and we won't be watched. Zhu Wuxin stared at her with a rare seriousness in his eyes. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Was he talking about Tang Beiyuan? Had Zhu Wuxin already discovered Tang Beiyuan's existence in the Yuqi clan's courtyard? He knew that Tang Beiyuan would pass his news to Dmo Xian. Was that why he chose to leave? Did his words mean that? Tang Beiyuan had no way to follow him into the upper profound hall? There's only you and me here. Zhu Wuxian's lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.